I want to welcome you on today's program and say that animals have always been a significant part of my life, from horses, dogs, especially the big dogs. Although through Michael, I'm learning how to love the smaller dogs as well. But animals are interesting because, again, we don't get a particular education on how to really allow an animal to touch us, to open us in a way. And I know a lot of you have a profound relationship with animals. Well, I'm really honored today to have Dr. Marlene Siegel, who's a veterinarian in the Tampa area, who really brings another way of listening, appreciating the whole of the animal, the heart, soul, the body. It brings a integrative approach, an approach that honors intuition, an approach that honors that relationally, our relationship with animals go way beyond just the physical relationship. That animals really are a conduit to another level of seeing, healing, the things we don't usually associate. So that's the mountain view. Right? That's why there's two views in every situation. So Michael, I'm so eager to have Marlene. I feel like I've known Marlene like past time. How's that for past time? I just love where she comes from. I love her perspective. It's a non-mechanistic, it's a non-mechanical way of seeing that animals come into our lives for a certain purpose, a certain destiny. And in conjunction with that, she's also very tuned into the nutritional, to the Western and the more ancient practices. She's aware that the animals have meridians, energy points. She understands that animals are here to teach us certain things. So we're going to get into a different conversation today around having this zero adversity. Because I realize that people get very keyed up about their dogs, about their cats, about their animals. So we're going to give you a different perspective. Michael, you have two wonderful dogs. It's touched my heart many times when we've been talking. When your dogs are in the room, can you talk to them like they could be human beings in the room? You have a very zero adversity relationship with the animals. And do comment on zero adversity again today for this holiday season. I know a lot of people, by the way, receive a lot of adversity during the good old holidays.
Really, thank you very much. I love your opening monologue there. When you talk about the base of the mountain, top of the mountain, yeah, you do have two different perspectives, and you have different perspectives as you climb the mountain. And right. A lot of people actually only act out of a habit based on what they see at the base. They apply it to being at the top as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of these. I wrote Zero Adversity because at the time. In the last 30 years, I've needed to create a process for myself that would help me deal with the stuff life throws at you. The stuff that's unforeseen, the things you do foresee, emergencies, situations with friends, family. There's a lot of things. We're in a 24/7 information-based media world right now, and there's a lot of negative information that which is very pervasive in the media, thrown at us. And we have to have a way of filtering out this stuff because it does create the experience of adversity. It creates negative feelings and emotions and the reactions and feelings of hopelessness and then feelings of optimism and feelings of despair. We just came through an election where there was a lot of angst and a lot of anxiety about who is going to win and what's this going to happen? Is this going to prevail? They're always throwing these numbers at us, polls and things that they want us to feel a certain way. And we are the captain of our own ship, but we forget that we are the captain of our own ship. And we feel in today's society, it's very easy to feel out of control, like you're not in control of your destiny, but you really, really are, and you can manage your life in a more effective way if you have a process. So Zero Adversity is the process that I've been using, and a lot of people who've read the book have shared with me their comments about how it's helping them to better manage and take control, take back their quality of life. And that's kind of what it is, the three-step process. Perceive, respond, let go. Many things don't require a response. Many commitment of time and energy or personal resources at all. But yet we're putting all this energy out everywhere, and it's not necessary. And if our life is better, our quality of life is better, we're happier, we're more fulfilled by what we do, we're making better choices, we slow down the clock because we're choosing where to put ourselves, put our energies and put ourselves into. So that's really what Zero Adversity is about. I appreciate getting the opportunity to talk about that. And with regard to pets, yes, I do have two pets. I've got a beautiful Aussie who walked onto my girlfriend's horse property. She's got 3 horses in the barn, and she's a dressage rider, and walked onto her property one day. And I had swore off another pet. I'm not going to have another pet. There's no way in the world. I don't want the hair. I'm traveling too much. I'm going places, and it's just I don't want to have the responsibility of a pet. Well, this beautiful dog walks onto the property, and you can see how, displaced it was, and it's kind of scared. And I said, you know what? The story long and short of it is, I had told my girlfriend that she knew I wasn't going to get another dog, and she went out of town to a dressage event, and I went up to take care of things, and she had this dog walking on the property. She says, it came back, and I put it in the tack room, and I wish she'd go up there and take care of it. So I went up, and I let the dog out, and long story short, I ended up putting this dog in my Tahoe, taking it to the vet, having it checked out, and I basically named it and adopted within a couple of hours. So she was. And then I called her, and I said, she said, well, how's the dog doing? And I said, you mean Angel? And she says, you've named it already? It's an amazing thing. She tells the story to people. It's like, oh, my gosh. It's a very embarrassing situation. I've named this dog already. I've taken it home, and she's been an amazing companion. The bond that we have is spectacular. The corgi we went to get in northern Mississippi, is a little puppy. You wish they could stay that small and that cute forever, although she's 30 pounds cute now. One of the biggest corgis my girlfriend's ever had. But unbelievable. Dogs are, both of them have their own little personalities, and, they bonded more to one than the other, but the love is there. It's amazing. And I'm looking forward to Marlene Siegel today to find out some things that, some different perspective in terms of animals and why they're with us, and what they help us accomplish in life, and how they make us feel, but the deeper meaning behind even our having these two animals. So that's pretty much my story.
I had this very unusual psychiatrist friend. His name's Wayne London, and there's a lot of mystery illnesses, including Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's. People really don't know. There's no conventional treatment that works for these illnesses, really. And so with Wayne, we became very close. So he's a psychiatrist who studies unusual phenomena. Like he studies the impact of lighting, which is quite remarkable. He has actually we gave a seminar in Vermont on a day that had to be like 30 below zero. It was a very cold day. We put an event together that we thought we were going to have 600 people. We had 100 people come. And at that time, Wayne was talking about the impact of light through our eyes. And there was a woman in the back of the room, and she wrote a book on healing manic depression based on this lecture. So we joked. Wayne always said to me, no matter what happens, there's a higher purpose. So even though we had 100 people, we expected more. This woman's book sold about 150,000 copies. So there was lighting, the impact of full spectrum lighting, the impact of getting sunshine in our eyes, which is so significant. The next thing he studied was tennis. But what he came up with, though, was an energy grid. So every person has an energy grid, and you could read it. And when you read their grid, as an example, people with Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's, MS, these kind of mystery, they call them mysterious illnesses. There's really no answer. They're hard to test for. Well, anyway, he calls me up one day, and he had done my grid, my son's grid, my whole family's grid. And he says, having a Rottweiler would be very good for your family. Because the Rottweiler deals in issues of life and death. And a lot of this is invisible. You got to stretch your imagination. But he was saying to me that basically Labradors couldn't survive what a Rottweiler could. And part of what it was that Rottweilers take this energy. Use your imagination, guys. You take the energy and they bring it back into the earth. So he was saying they actually have, for people with certain conditions, they're fabulous. So he just said to me, hey, this would be good for you. Move your energy. You can imagine a grid and energy. So I went up. I got the dog immediately because we've done this through the years. We have this instant kind of trust thing. Gives me the dog. And I immediately bond with this dog. He's a big Rottweiler. And I leave the house. I have to leave for an appointment, and my wife's home at the time, and she's doing a back bend in yoga. And he was originally in the corner of the room, and he walked over to get on her yoga mat, so there's no way she could do anything but land on him. So she told me she thought that the dog was going to kill her, but she ended up bonding with him. My daughter wouldn't come out of her room for several days when the Rottweiler was in the house. I had a DVD player, and she watched some videos on training a dog, and so she started to train Ben, or I should say Ben was training her. I'm not sure which was which. And he became a real family member. I would say, in my house, when I didn't feel good, whatever I was feeling, he was so in tune with it. So I got up, I didn't feel 100%. He'd come by and sit by the bed. And it really changed the dynamic of our family. It really made me question the way dogs are trained and our perception of them. Because, I'm sure like you do, both of you do. I see people sometimes yell and kind of blame dogs for things that it's not the dog's fault. And a lot of times they don't see how the dog mirrors them, And that became a really interesting phase. I also had a lot of experience with horses early on. And I always felt better about my life and the whole world being around a horse. I always felt, particularly some horses. So I've always had this inquiry into horses and dogs, learning how to be with cats. I want to acknowledge that. I don't hate cats, learning how to be with them. And of course, the relationship to food. I realized, there's a lot of junk in a lot of the processed stuff. They do it for animal food. So I got really interested. I met Marlene. As I said, it seems timeless forever, but maybe within 6 months, maybe over 6 months ago, and I realized, wow, her whole perspective, your whole perspective, Marlene, is an inspired perspective. You've been a veterinarian 28 years, but I could really see that what you see and how you interact with the animals gives people not just information about their animals, but really kind of about this hidden path, this hidden thing that's happening in this wondrous relationship we have with our so-called pets. A lot of times I realize that people will have the recognition as they're listening that there's so much more that meets the eye. I can think of one situation. A veterinarian wrote a book years ago called Your Dog's Not Sick, He Just Wants You to Think So. And there's a story in that book that I always remember because she held this big party, the owner of the dog. And the dog would jump on certain women and do these inappropriate things, at this party. And she brought the dog in. She was very upset about this. And the veterinarian said to her, he said, well, how many of those people do you actually not like? And then she reflected upon it, and she said, well, every person that I didn't like the dog jumped on. So a little reflection that there's a hidden thing in our relationship with animals that allows us to see differently and could be healing and restorative to us. Marlene, how did you first, as I love to ask doctors, by the way, is how did you first become a new breed of veterinarian and have a shift of perception? Or did you bring that, or did that come to you as a result of meeting people and sensing this other quality of interaction that you didn't know about, or you always had that? How did you wake up to this? Welcome.
Fascinating stories. And I think everybody's evolution into their process of waking up is unique to them. But mine started, as a child, I always knew I wanted to be a vet. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind. I didn't talk about anything else. I didn't play with dolls. I played with animals. When I was in elementary school, kids would bring their sick hamsters and whatever, and I would find sick birds. They would just show up in my experience, and I would take them down to the vet, and the vet would treat them for free, and I would take them home and nurse them and release them. And so it was just this very organic, natural process. I couldn't even imagine having thought of anything else to be. And I was always intuitive, but in my younger years, I didn't know that there was anything different. I didn't know that there were people that didn't experience intuitive hits. And so it was a natural process of just growing up with it. But like a muscle, it's a skill that you want to develop. And I didn't really have a reason to develop it. But as I became a vet, when I was practicing medicine, things would happen. I would just know things. And I couldn't explain to you how I knew it. I just would get the thought of whatever was wrong with that particular animal, and I picked the right test to prove it. And then I went on with treatment, and it was amazing. And my technicians would say, Doc, how did you do that? Like, you didn't even go anywhere else. You went right in for the answer. And some of the stuff was not obvious. And I didn't know how to answer that. And as time went on, I had my first child, and I had a lot of daytime nightmares that were really bugging me. And I ended up being introduced to a woman who was a neurolinguistic specialist, and I think quite a healer in her own right. And she started saying things to me like, well, you're a healer, don't you know that? And I thought about it, and I went, well, I guess I am a veterinarian. I'm healing animals, so yeah, that's kind of an obvious. But then she took it a step further, and she started describing to me some of my experiences, of which she was not privy to. And it made me stop and go, well, how did you know that I would experience a look of an animal, or I would get a thought from that animal, not like I heard Charlton Heston booming in my ear, but I would just get this knowing. And if I acted upon it, I was always right. So that started me thinking a little bit more about being conscious of the experiences that I was having, and I became more direct. I became more aware of things, and I just didn't blow them off as, oh, well, that was a lucky thing that happened, or that was a coincidence. I started paying attention and realizing that everything really had an intention to it. And then my biggest change occurred when I had two girls and running a very busy practice, and we were showing horses, and we were showing English horses. And there was an incident where one of my horses was being ridden by my youngest daughter, and the horse had something happen to her, and she reared in the air. And as my daughter was sliding off the back of the horse, she was only 8 years old, and she was never told what to do if your horse rears, so she was holding onto the reins, and she literally pulled the horse over backwards. This horse actually squatted on its left hind leg and pushed herself to the right as my daughter was falling to the horse's left. And had that horse not done that, without a doubt, 1,400 pounds against 50 pounds, she would have crushed her, internal injuries, and she would not have survived that. And I watched this horse consciously and willingly move herself away from the path of harming this child. And as time went on over the next few weeks, we started realizing it wasn't an accident that she had reared, and she was actually having neck spasms, and through a variety of serendipitous events, figured out that she hadn't got her teeth floated properly, and it caused her to spasm and get arthritis in her neck. And I had a choice to make, and there wasn't really even a question in my mind. I was told to either put the horse down or retire her, because at the time they didn't know what the diagnosis was. I should back that up. And they said she's either having seizures or there's something really wrong, and we're just not going to be able to fix her. And there was nothing in my body that said anything other than, I owe that horse for saving my child's life. And that became my focus. I was going to fix her no matter what it took. So at the time, I was practicing straight Western medicine. And I was so busy that there was no way I thought I was going to add anything to my plate, like learning a new whole life. And, you know, when the universe opens up and says it's your time to step forward, you get little hints along the way. If you ignore those hints, you're going to get a major push in the direction. And at some point, you have to stop and listen. And that was my stopping point. So the first thing I had to learn was how to do chiropractic work, because I was going to fix this horse. And then chiropractic took me into acupuncture, and it took me into nutrition, it took me into herbs and oils, and all the way up into energy medicine. And what my passion is now is clearing trapped emotions. So all of this evolved from this horse, who I truly and passionately believe and honor her to be one of my angel guides. And she shows up and she says, okay, come on, we're taking this new path. You have a job to do in this world, and we're going to go do it. And that's really my whole beginning into holistic and integrated medicine. It's been a great journey.
Fantastic.
And I still have the horse. And she
how old is the horse now?
This happened 14 years ago.
Wow.
So it's been a very beautiful and flowing journey.
You know, Michael wrote the book on zero adversity, and I go to a dog park, and a lot of people walk their dogs. Actually, a lot of dogs go on no leash, which I actually love. I have a lot of great interactions, but every so often, I don't know, 3% of the time, what I notice happens is the dog seems alarmed or gets kind of aggressive or something happens with the dog, and usually the owners, and I can see it has this quality of adversity, a challenge, because they don't know what to do, and it seems kind of strainful on them. It's awkward for me. And I just, was thinking about Michael's book, Adversity, and how a lot of people would like to have a different relationship with their dog in terms of different habits, whether it be not listening or, and Michael, I was just thinking about this morning that if you did a seminar called Zero Adversity for Dogs, I think a lot of people would show up, because I think a lot of people. I want to get your take on what's your take on that, Michael and Marlene. What's your dog on?
Michael, you want to go first, or?
Go ahead, Marlene.
I'll go if nobody cares. So I think one of the first questions that we have to start with is asking the question, why are we here and why are we having the experiences that we're having? And I love this Indian parable about the secret of happiness. And source energy comes to the animals and says, I've got the secret to share with man, but man's not ready to know the secret of happiness. So we got to do something with the secret. We got to hide it. What should we do with it? And the whales offer to take the secret and take it all the way to the very bottom of the ocean and hide it down there. And that way, when man was ready, they would go get it. And the other animals said, no, with man, he would just build these submarines. He would create dynamite. He would just blow up the bottom, and it would look like a landmine down there. We want to do that. So then the eagle said, well, I could fly it to the highest point that we could reach and hide it up there, and man won't find it there. And everybody said, no, it's not going to work, because man's going to he's going to climb, he's going to find cranes, he's going to flying machines. It's just not going to work. So then the badgers come forward and they say, well, we can bury it deep into the earth. And of course the same problem was that man, being as inquisitive as he is just going to dig and find and destroy until he gets it. So the wise owl said, we know the answer. They said, why don't we just put it right inside of man? He would never think to look there. So first we have to stop and ask the question, why are we here, and what's the reason for our lives? And for me, I understand that we're here to experience things. And if we look at our lives as a video game, and a video programmer, when they create a game, every element of that game has been created with consciousness, from the colors to the sounds to the characters to the little helper tools to all the little things that are in that game that are planted there in order for you to have the ability to find the clues so that you can go to level 2 and 3 and 4 and win the game. Okay, you with me on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So life to me is a video game, but we're in the video. And we have around us all of these tools, all of these helpers, all the clues, all the answers are really already here for us. We're just not looking. So animals, being part of nature, I believe play a key role in giving us that information to help us understand how to navigate those difficulties, the resistance, all the things that Michael just wrote about. We're here to experience it and to move through it. So life is supposed to move through us, not to us. But oftentimes we get stuck in the video game and we become the victim in the story. Mm-hmm. And we're not really a victim. The answers and everything that we need lie within us, and they're out there around us being mirrored. We just have to look and find them. And as I started becoming more aware of that, and I started looking at the relationship between people and their pets, and I saw these relationships that were so deeply significant, everything down to mirroring emotions, to mirroring diseases, to even bringing those owners to a place where a piece of information could be shared for them at a time and a moment when they were ready to hear it. Because I think we hear a lot of stuff, but sometimes we're not ready to hear what that answer is or what that piece of profound awakening is. And so we kind of blow past it, and then down the road, we hear it again, and hopefully we're at a point in our lives where we go, oh my gosh, epiphany time. And then you're able to grow and move to the next level of the video game. So our pets, as I understand now, will either be mirroring to us that which we are having inside that we need to see, or they may be bringing us to information at a time in our lives when we're ready to hear it.
That's brilliantly put. I don't have much to add to that because the fact is that you call it a video game. In my book, I kind of call it, we're all in a life play. We have a play that we're in, and those people around us are characters in our play, and we're characters in theirs. And I love the way you put that. We were supposed to move through things. We're not supposed to get caught up, hung up in the situation, which is exactly what happens to people in life. Not an expert on pets. As a matter of fact, the question I have for you, Marlene, is, in your view, how do pets communicate with us? My dog knows when we're leaving. Is it that they have, is it a telepathic thing? Is it a picture that we're giving the dog? How is it that they know things that are going on?
Animals do tend to communicate in picture form. I don't see pictures as much as I sense the picture. So everybody has different ways to communicate. Everybody has their own. I'm more clairsentient, and there's people that are more clairvoyant and clairaudient, and whether they hear through their ears or their eyes or their senses. And it doesn't matter. They're all good. Animals will oftentimes communicate to us through pictures. We just have to be open to receiving it. And most of us do, but we blow it off to a coincidence, or we blow it off to a random thought without actually realizing that that random thought was the communication. And so this is part of consciousness, this is part of awareness.
Well put. I mean, with my Aussie, we're so connected. I know when she has or wants to go outside. It's not necessarily to go to the bathroom. She spends a lot of time out in the front yard. We don't have any fences out there, and I let her out the front door or the side door, carport door, and she just goes right out, sits down in the sun, and relaxes. She watches the world go by. And I fully trust her, and I tell her to stay in the yard, and she stays within the confines of the yard, even if it's all the way to the edge of where the post box is. And people find that a little bit strange, but I trust her. She knows she's a black dog. Doesn't do that at night because nobody will see her. It's not a safe thing. She decides to go off, and if another dog comes, or she loves people, so she likes to go talk to everybody, at least go see everybody, the neighbors and the like. If they drive up, she wants to go over and say hello, and it's a momentary hello. It's not here and pet me on the head for 10 minutes. It's, hey, how you doing? And then she's off. So I always wondered whether they see pictures or we see, we get a little hint. I mean, I look at my dog's eyes and I can kind of tell what she wants. It's just, I don't know, maybe I'm just more aware than some people. And she doesn't have to tell me more than once. I get it. I kind of know her rhythms and her rhymes and all those things, and I kind of understand what she needs and when she needs it, and I attempt to communicate that to people who are going to be watching when I'm out of town. But what a wonderful idea! The pets are mirrors to us. I'd love for you to just go a little bit deeper into that, because it's really, really important for people to get that it's not a coincidence or an accident that a pet shows up in our life.
Oh, my favorite topics. So when people come in and they have a particular issue with that pet, and I go into the energetics that are going on, and I look at that person and I say, so do you think it's a coincidence that you have this particular pet with this particular problem with this particular moment in time, and you're standing in front of me and we're having this conversation? And I get them to stop and realize that none of that's an accident. Nothing that happens in our life is an accident. it all has some degree of intention. Well, where is the intention coming from? It's actually coming from within us. So we are creating the experience that we need to be dealing with, whether it's the lesson of judgment, whether it's a lesson of fear and trust, whether it's a lesson of awareness and awakening, whatever that lesson is. We've created it for the purpose of being able to experience it. I have another analogy, because I love analogies. If you were to, again, going back to our video game, if you were to erase all of nature from the world, and all that was left was man, we could not survive. We wouldn't have food, we wouldn't have water, we wouldn't have love and support other than the other people, right? You would not be able to survive. But we could erase man and leave all of nature, and everything would go on probably a little bit better than when we're in it. So what does that tell us? It tells us that if we look at the world, all the answers that we need are there. And they're being mirrored to us all the time, but sometimes we're not being conscious and seeing. So when pets come into our lives, they are a very direct, furry or feathered or scaled message. They travel in soul families like we do. And so they're coming here to bring you information, make you slow down and pay attention, help you to see a bigger purpose. It's just a matter of, are you listening? And as my awareness is becoming greater and greater, I'm having so many amazing experiences, and I've learned not to hold back. In the beginning, I have to tell you, it was a little crazy, some of the things that would come into my mind. And I'm thinking to myself, if I say that to that person, they are going to think I'm absolutely nuts. And yet, I just trusted, and I would say it, and they would look at me and they'd go, I can't believe you just said that, because I needed to hear that, or I'm going through, and the tears would come. And the more I did that, the more I started trusting that there really is a gift there. And we all have it. We all have intuition. It just, we don't use it. It's a muscle that we start to not strengthen, and so therefore it becomes weakened. I teach a program that actually helps people to strengthen those muscles, to help them to connect to their higher consciousness. And when they do that, the amazing stories that they start sharing about how rich their lives become and how flowing, and even down to what used to be stresses, like what Michael's book is all about, about how do we look at those resistance, those conflicts, those areas that we're stuck, and how do we shift that from being the victim or being stuck into where's the blessing. And we've all had experiences where we're in the middle of something tragic, and then years down the road we look back and we go, wow, I would never have been this if that hadn't happened. And for those who can see the blessings in that, they start using those words of, oh, I know that there's a silver lining there. I know there's going to be something better afterwards, but I don't see it right now. And I think that's where trust comes in. And I think trust is very important, that we have to trust that the things we're experiencing, the things that we're creating in our environment, in our consciousness, are there for our highest and best purpose. So when we have animals that are going through an illness or whatever it is, instead of just looking at that as going, oh, what horrible luck I have, or what a tragedy this is, and I'm not minimizing the pain and angst that we go through when something is suffering. What I'm saying is that we need to look at that and go, what is it that I can learn from this, that I can make my life, and I can serve the greater purpose around me through this experience? And I think that's where our lessons come from.
Marlene, why don't you go ahead? Dr. Marlene Siegel is with us today on Vibrant Living. Michael J. Russ, co-host. Go ahead and give out your contact. What do you want to share with people? A lot of people could access you from this area, so.
Oh, absolutely. I do phone work. I do work with people, teaching them how to connect to consciousness, and of course my passion is working with animals and helping them to heal. My phone number is area code 813-973-2929. My website is www.pascovet.com. That's P like in Paul, A S like in Sam, COVET.com. And I look forward to connecting with everybody.
I just want to say that also on Michael J. Russ's website, Michael's site has these 5 videos that are just spectacular. They're full of so much insight and practical wisdom. They're totally free. So do go to michaeljruss.com, michaeljruss.com. I want to ask you a question. A while back, we did an in-studio conversation with a cardiologist. And we were talking. We had met before the show. And so during the program, she was talking about a patient that it seemed like it was going to be a fairly routine surgery. But in fact, and she really loved this patient. But I guess he passed away. He did pass away. She was really concerned about him. Was her first experience, by the way. She was really concerned about him, and she was in very good touch with the family, and they were concerned, and it was a shock. And so she kept asking every night before she went to bed, like, to hear something back about him. And so she said she was in her kitchen at night, and he appeared. Not only he appeared, he was like, she said she could feel his energy. It was lighter. It was different quality than being in a body, but she said it was like he was right there. It was like Technicolor. And she said it really moved her. She said after that experience, she sensed people and noticed them in a very different way. And her life changed as well by seeing a patient who passed away physically, but then appeared to her, I guess you could say, in an angelic form. And he was there to share with her that he had transitioned and that he was well and he appreciated it. And they had this little mini conversation. Now, I want to say to you that a few people came up to me, incognito, so to speak, because they didn't really want to talk about it. They kind of pulled me aside, and they said hearing that story actually had transformed their life. Just hearing that story had touched them deeply. I was wondering if we were like flies on the wall. Give us a couple of stories of in your practice of being a veterinarian, because people come to you with a content. They come to you with a specific problem, and you're usually working in a context of something much larger. You're seeing some bigger things. Give us a couple stories about how that might have shown up the last little while for you with people.
I'm going to tell you my 3 favorites. They're all favorites, but these are the 3 most recent. I had a 3-year-old cat that came in for vomiting and losing weight. And we took x-rays, did a full workup, because I do integrate Western medicine and Eastern medicine. And it looked like this cat had a foreign body. Something was stuck in the intestines. And so we went in to do exploratory surgery, and it turns out the cat had cancer. His intestines and lymph nodes were all engulfed in lymphoma. So we put the cat to sleep on the table. We didn't wake her up. And owner came. I did this after hours. The owner came down. We spent a few hours talking and trying to console her, because it was certainly shocking for a 3-year-old cat. And I went to leave. It was around 10:30 at night, and I'm 57 years old. I've been driving for a very, very long time, and in all kinds of weather, in all kinds of times of day and night, and I've never experienced this before. And to back up, I always ask my patient, the cat, to give me a sign, let me know that they're okay. I always do the same thing. And I send them on with light and love, asking for what is the message here. So I didn't get anything from the cat right away. I'm driving home, and the very first car that I pass on the road, the headlights turn into a huge rainbow heart. I mean, it was a huge rainbow heart, like no mistaking it. And I saw the first one, I thought, wow, that is really cool. And then the next car came, and the same thing, and the same thing. I must have passed 20 cars, and each one of them displayed this huge rainbow heart. So I asked if it was a cat, and it was not. But I didn't know who it was. So I knew there was something coming through, because I've never experienced that before. And a couple days went by. I always call my owners and ask how they're doing. And I shared with the owner this experience of the rainbows. And she got really quiet, and then she said to me, you know, my sister loved rainbows. And my sister died a couple of years ago. And as she said that, my body was absolutely engulfed in God bumps, like goosebumps, but I call them God bumps. And I know that that's one of my communications to my guides that are letting me know, thumbs up, right answer, atta girl kind of thing. So immediately I knew that that was a message that I needed to relay from the sister to this woman, and she totally got it. I had another experience. Like I said, a lot of these animals mirror their owners. So I had a lady who came in, and she was actually a psychic reader. And she brought her cat in, and it was the most obese cat I think I've ever seen. This cat was round. It was scary round. It was like disease ready to happen round. And I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at the cat. So that my first inclination would have been, wow, this is a nutritional talk. But the owner was a very trim lady, and she looked rather healthy. And I said something like, most of the time these animals mirror things that I need to relate to you, but you're not heavy, and you look like you probably take care of yourself. And she started laughing. She says, well, really, I don't eat very well. So we did have a conversation on diet, but that really wasn't the take-home, and I wasn't sure where we were going. And so she just happens to bring up the fact that her son had passed away a few years earlier. And I looked at her, and I got this thought to ask, is your son here now? And she said, well, he usually does go with me, but I don't communicate with him. Now, this is a woman who is a medium. She communicates for other people to their other side. And when she said that she can't communicate to him, I said, well, do you know how to muscle test, which is a form of kinesiology? And she said, no. And I got this very, very strong message to teach her right then and there how to do a sway test, which is a way to be able to use your body as a pendulum so that she can ask yes and no questions. So bottom line, what it was is he wanted to communicate with her, but they hadn't found the common ground to do it. And so she was brought into my office. I'd never met her before, by the way. She was brought into my office for me to teach her how to muscle test so that she could communicate with her son, and ever since then she was able to communicate with him. So those were two great stories. And then the third one, this past month, I've seen more cancer, by the way, than I've ever seen in my career. We had 18 cancer patients in the last 30 days. I would see typically 1 or 2 cancer patients a year, and I'm seeing this extraordinary increase in this 1 month. It was very sad. And so we had a dog come in who on Saturday had been vomiting and came in on Monday and took the x-rays and immediately saw there was a mass in the abdomen. And we did an ultrasound. We confirmed there was a mass. And on day 3, we did an exploratory to prove it. And I had preset this up with the owner that if we opened the dog and we found that it was not something we could fix, we would say goodbye on the table. So she had all day long to be with the dog. She took the day off of work, and they had a very quality day together because we pretty much had the feeling that this wasn't going to turn out good. So I always do these after hours. So we close up. She was in the waiting room. I opened the dog. It was horrible. The whole liver was engulfed. There was nothing I could do about it. So she came back. She said goodbye. We put the dog to sleep. And then afterwards, again, I just allow myself to say things that just come to me. I just know that they're inspirations, and I trust that. So we had this talk with her about your dog will give you a sign that he's okay. You just need to be open and receptive. And I gave her some tools on how she could do that, and how she could communicate, and how she could set her intention. So she goes home, and I called her the next day, and I said, how are you doing? And she said, you're not going to believe this. Of course, I believe everything. All that day before we had the surgery, she was singing to her dog the song, You Are My Sunshine. Now, we're all old enough to know that song. A lot of your young people may not. But it's not a song that we typically hear on the radio. In fact, I don't know if I've ever heard it on the radio. Right. And she said to me she got home, and she turned her TV on. This wasn't the radio. She turned on her TV, and that song was playing. That was a song she'd sung to him all day long. And she was filled with such a sense of peace and comfort because she realized that that was his way of letting her know he's still here and he really is okay. So those are my 3 great stories that just happened recently, so they were in the top of my mind.
I agree.
The clients. It's interesting, Michael. Maureen, just
Marlene, such receptivity. Like, I wonder, as you hear Marlene speak, it's just interesting to me that people are so open and so open to their animal in the way that they may not be with their humans.
Well, that brings up another great point is let's stop and think about what's different in our world right now than was different just 20 years ago.
Yes.
We have more conversations about holistic, about consciousness, about awareness. I mean, these are topics that never came up 20 years ago. If you brought that up, people would look at you like you were totally beyond woo-woo. You were just crazy.
Right.
And now we have people that are seeking that information. The number of life coaches that are out there now are astronomical. Michael, you writing a book like you do, the work that I do, and I have a plethora of people that I am connected with that are all, the terms they use are awakening, higher consciousness. It's a whole new era. And I'm a big follower of Greg Braden. I don't know if you guys know who he is. I think you do. And he talks about the fact that we're in a new world era. And this is the world era of cooperation. We're leaving the world of competition and going into a world of cooperation. And can't we just feel that? It is palpable.
We definitely need to. The other thing, too, is a lot of people are waking up to the fact that they are the ones who are in control of their lives, not something outside of them.
Yeah.
And that awakening is a shock to a lot of people.
Yeah, but they're getting it.
Do you find that the people who come into your practice with their pets have this sense that there is some connection there, and that or they're totally maybe just unaware of it? I mean, I'm not assuming that people come to you by accident. I think there are no accidents or coincidences in anything, and I'm assuming the people that come to you are coming to you for a reason maybe they're not aware of.
Exactly. They're energetically drawn, but I connect the dot. And when I connect the dot, you see that aha come on, and they start to get it. And I am also very passionate about my lifestyle. For 14 years, I've only used clean, green products that touch our skin and clean our house, and I grow most of my own food. I'm into hydroponics and raised beds and permaculture. And so things that I make for myself, I bring into the office and I share with people. So they're always getting samples of kefir, kombucha, cultured vegetables. They're getting raw foods and raw breads. So it's just really cool. And at first their reaction, I think, Glenn, you started the program talking about belief systems. And we get our belief systems programmed in our first 7 years of life. The things that we see, we record those. They're not necessarily our truth, but it's our belief system that we start out with. And it takes the ability to wake up one day and you go, wait a minute, do I really believe that? Or is that somebody else's belief system that got recorded on my recorder? And so you're acting out somebody else's belief system. So for instance, people will say to me, well, I would love to be more organic, but it's too expensive. And so where did they get that idea that it's more expensive? And when I show them how it's actually cheaper to eat organically because you're getting nutrients, you're getting cleaner food, you're more grateful for the food that you're eating, you eat a lot less, that we saved, the first month I went organic, we saved $500. And then I teach people how to grow some of their greens and some of their herbs, and then I teach classes on how to do fermented foods, cultured foods, dehydrated foods, and juicing. And then they are amazed at how much easier it is. I have tons of information on my website that's all free on how to start changing your lifestyle. You pick 3 things. Change 1, change 2, change 3. Make it a habit, pick 3 new things. Change 1, change 2, change 3. And they start seeing this evolution. They feel better. They're happier. They don't become victims of their life anymore. They take charge of their life. They can look at situations that they're in and they can go, what's the blessing here? Even down to if they're dealing with somebody who's in conflict, going, wow, that person must need a little bit more light and love. So rather than engage into the conflict, what if I can just energetically learn how to send them light and love? They don't even have to be aware of it. You can do forgiveness for people. They don't have to be aware of it. But it all works. So that's what I'm finding is that people do not want Band-Aids any longer. A majority of the people that come into my office have had chronic problems with their pets, and they don't want another pill. They don't want another shot. They're wanting to understand, why is it here? So I describe it like a dash light board on your car. Our bodies, like everything else around us, give us hints. They give us clues. So when we feel an ache or a pain, or we have an illness or a headache or whatever, our society has trained us to treat it with a pill or a shot or something to make it go away. But that's not treating the underlying cause. So if your body is like the dashboard lights of your car, if it comes on to give you a warning, do you unplug it and ignore the warning, or do you take it in and evaluate whatever the underlying problem was and you fix it? And it's really that simple. It's looking at your life as, what is it that I'm trying to make myself aware of? Kind of like the Matrix, which I never saw, but told, is, do you become the conscious creator of your life, or do you let life happen to you? So everything in life becomes the dashboard light. It becomes a little clue or a warning sign. And then it's a matter of, if you don't know how to find the answer, then read books like Michael wrote, or find practitioners like myself, or get on the internet. There are so many awesome awareness, awakened people out there that are teaching that it's a whole new era, and we are moving into a world of cooperation and moving away from competition.
The book that Michael wrote, Zero Adversity, you could learn more about Michael J. Russ. The book Zero Adversity as a lifestyle, as an awareness that you could bring in the 3 practical steps at michaeljruss.com, michaeljruss.com. Marlene, why don't you go ahead, since you mentioned all those free resources, go ahead and give out your website again.
It is www.pascovet.com. I'll spell Pasco because I know it's hard to hear. P like in Paul, A like in Apple, S like in Sam, C like in cat, O orange, VET like veterinarian, at pascovet.com.
I also want to mention that I'll be doing a new show, along with, you're always welcome to join us, Michael, a new show with Marlene in the new year on vibrant animals and cultivating the energetic, physical, soulful side of your relationship with your animal. We'll be talking about everything from food to patterns to really deepening this relationship. And if you're curious and you're adopting a dog, or you want to really have this wondrous relationship with your animal, Vibrant Animals is going to be something that I'm really happy we'll be producing and working together, Marlene, very much. So I want to tell you, I feel like you have been a destiny gift. I feel like you're the only person, by the way, that I've discussed divorce the patterns on each other. You always saw where we were aligned and connected. And I want to say that you're the only one. So many people get so triggered, and there you are, kind of loving. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate your listening and who you are at a very deep level. So thank you so much for coming out. I also have a vision of you and Michael teaching seminars together. What a great seminar. Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. That would be such a thrill. Because you've got such insights.
You're right on the same page with me. We're just
I was just thinking you and Michael are natural.
Situation.
So I want to encourage that.
And mention that I have a farm, a 63-acre farm out in Dade City, Florida, and I am actually creating out there a cooperative, sustainable city. It's a research and development center where people can come from all over the world and see how to live sustainably. So it has food production, it has greenhousing with stuff that I call it the new Tomorrowland. If anybody ever went to Disney's Tomorrowland when he first came out with it 30-plus whatever years ago, he had stuff that people had never seen before that, of course, became reality in their households. And so this is the Tomorrowland, the new Tomorrowland, where we show how can we live sustainably using techniques of biomimicry, using recyclability, leaving a zero-carbon footprint. It's amazing. And I'm involved with people from all over the world who are inventors, even just the common, simple person who came up with an idea. And this will be a center, an entire city that models that kind of living. So how cool that all of this comes together.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's really good.
Amazing.
I want to think, yeah, it's beyond amazing. I can see you're a visionary, and you make your vision become real. I want to thank also.
Say it again.
I want to thank Valerie here at the station to say how much. I've been a family member here on WWPR for well over a decade, and so great working with Valerie here. What can I say? Your life's precious. Enjoy it. If you've been a pessimist, that can now shift. You're not dictated by what was.
Yeah.
Michael, you want to leave something for zero adversity awareness, a practical step, or share something? I've done this. I only have 30 seconds left. Please.
It's fine. I'm just simply going to mirror something that Marlene just said, and that is that we really have to start thinking about being the conscious creators of our life. It's one of my favorite topics. You want to design your life, or you want it just to happen to you, and we have that ability. And now, with Marlene's help, I come to understand. I have a greater understanding of how my pets are contributing to to my life, to the conscious creation of my life. And Marlene, I really, really do appreciate you for bringing it up.
Thanks.
It's been wonderful. Want to have another conversation like this soon.
Many, many, many. Blessings. Everybody enjoy the holiday. Speak to you next week, 12 noon, right here, AM 1490. WWPR, your life's precious. Enjoy it. Thank you.